Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
What's up? Welcome back to the show. We are rocking and rolling on a Friday. I am not caffeinated, and I am totally putting on this extra energy for you because I love you all out there. Yes. And I'm also rocking one of our brand new functional bodybuilding t-shirts. This is the t-shirt colorway that got tons of love the first go around that we did a merch drop that was last year. My personal favorite, and then we put one of our a different design on it. So this particular shirt comes in two different designs, same colorway, and it now comes in a tank top, sleeveless, which just says FBB on it. But if you're watching the YouTube, I mean, just peep how glorious this looks right now.
Yeah.
The whole ensemble.
Yeah.
Right? Head over to functionalbodybuilding.com/store and check out the merch situation we got. We are shipping to the North American region. For those international listeners, we will be in touch with you in the future.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. No shipping internationally at the moment.
We're working on it. And we have crop tops.
Oh, yeah, and the ladies got crop tops in a couple
or the
different
gents.
colorways. Or the gents, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't forget everybody.
Yeah.
We knew that some people wanted some crop tops.
Some people like to bear abs.
That's true. That's
regularly.
Real. And we restocked some of the other, like the fan favorites from last time. The blue tops.
The persist
the pink men's. I guess it's, I don't know. It's not. It's
like
all
a
unisex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so. Anyway, we have like a
tank.
kind of like a salmon pink tank that's pretty.
The aqua
pretty
tee
sweet.
is a good.
Yeah,
good one.
aqua tee is legit.
Yeah.
All the white hoodies are back in stock. What else did I see? Oh, we got some more of the the OG
tees.
block logo tees.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that it'd be like, because this shirt is super comfortable. It's like really comfortable.
I know.
And
that's a favorite of mine.
I would love to just hit up like this shirt with just like very basic like FBB
minimal.
or like a minimal like functional bodybuilding even, not just to for
Mix
those
it
of
up.
you who love to go a little bit more minimal.
Yeah. I would like that.
I mean, it could totally work.
I could wear it right now at this very moment with my outfit.
Yeah.
I didn't put on a special podcast outfit today. I just came from the lake with my kids. So
yeah. What was that about?
I'm in mom mode. It's the end of the year, end of the school year, and they have this fun lake day where the whole school just goes and chills, and there's like a little graduation ceremony for the 5th graders, which I'm missing right now. My son is in 5th, but there's going to be another graduation next week, which I'll go to. No shortage. Yeah. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice to go sit in nature and read my book and chill with my kids.
Cute.
Yeah.
Super cute. Yeah. That lake that you're talking about is really nice. We went a couple weekends ago, and they got like a really cool bike park there. Oh. Like they built like the mountain biker, downhiller people of the county like went hard. There's like a pump track there. There's like a downhill course. There's like a skills course for kids. Like
wow.
There's like in the meadow, there's like these little plank bridges that come up out of the reeds, and then they like have little, like they can ride on them and like learn how to navigate and like use these little, there's different skills that they got to build. I went on it and it was like, I'm not doing that skill yet. It's a little sketchy on my bike. And then I put the kids on, we had a little seat that they sit on the top tube of the bike. And so they just sit there, hold on to a handle, and I'm just like going. And we went up, and it was like this flow track that you come down, and a flow track is like, you don't have to do any pedaling. It's like got these big bank turns to it. It's got like some ups and downs, and you just kind of cruise, and it feels like a roller coaster. I mean, no joke. I was a little bit scared. They're just like at my whim, like doing whatever I'm doing, and they're like bouncing out of their seat. Anyway, it was super fun. And then my bike got stolen like a week later.
Yeah.
Solid.
That sucked.
Super sucky. So we're in the market for a new bike. Any listeners out there have a nice connection with the people at Specialized, want to tell them how to get in touch with me or me how to get in touch with them.
Yeah, maybe Specialized wants to sponsor this podcast.
I mean, yeah, shout out to Specialized, a Northern California bike company. And they're actually based out of Modesto, so that's kind of like not far from here.
Our neighbors, yeah.
Totally, yeah. Hey, NorCal guy over here. Fallen victim to the current times. It's nuts out there. As I'm learning more, like you mentioned, a bike got stolen, and then everyone's
like, me too.
Yeah, everyone's getting their bike stolen. And what's crazy is that it's happening. Like the thieves are getting extremely like like not aggressive. What's the word? They're like
brazen.
Or like like they're not being subtle about their thefts.
Yeah, it's
like
just broad daylight.
Like, and nowhere is safe. Apparently, up in the Oakland Hills, this is what I heard recently. People are getting held up at gunpoint that are out on their mountain bike ride or their bike rides, being like, "Get off your bike, give me your bike, turn around, don't look," and they leave with their bike.
Wow,
that is not what happened to me. Thank goodness, because you'd be traumatized. Very traumatized. Yeah. But and then the other one, somebody I heard somebody was at a stoplight in their truck, bike in the back of their truck. Somebody ran up, picked it out of the truck, and rode off, and they couldn't catch him.
Wow.
I mean, WTF?
Yeah.
So Nate just got a sick new bike. I don't know if you saw, but keep that thing inside your apartment, in like
under a blankie.
Yeah. Yes. Get your watch cat on it all the time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's sufficient banter.
Okay.
Protect yourself. Protect your bike. Protect your personal belongings. Mm-hmm. Just one last thing on this. I'm just like so bummed that like, I mean, not that I want to be somebody who's careless about protecting personal property, but there's a real like, I guess something I took for granted is this like feeling of safety and security. Yeah. Where like I didn't have to be like so hyper diligent about everything. Mm-hmm. And now it's like it's on my mind all the time. It's like even if I'm stepping away from my car for like a minute, I'm like, I gotta make sure I lock it. I gotta make sure I lock this. I gotta like I'm like doing the double, triple check on every lock in the house every night. And anyhow, it's just it's what happens.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yep. Okay. Well, Satya, what would you like to discuss today?
Ooh, my choice?
Yeah, dealer's choice.
Okay. I'm going to go with the first one that we talked about, which was one of the ideas I had in my note on my phone, my little podcast brainstorm.
Podcast topics, brainstorm note.
That's right. I'm always looking out. Always looking out for some topics. If you guys have any, you can slide into the DMs. But the one I thought about today was based on a recent Q&A that we had for our Persist Nutrition Challenge participants. We hopped on a live webinar Q&A with them, and a couple of the questions alluded to some not so fun changes that people were experiencing as they were noticing the effects of paying more attention to their nutrition, tracking their macros, or trying to sit and, eat some quality foods and digest slowly. And basically what happens when you shift your normal habits and your normal patterns in an attempt to improve your nutrition, and it's not so fun at first. You may be feeling sluggish, bloated, cranky, moody, just feeling off. And so I thought the theme for today could be what happens when it gets worse before it gets better, and what can you expect if you're making some changes to your nutrition or perhaps to your training.
Well, I think what's a great opening question is like, what is the expectation that people have around any change in their life, right? Mm-hmm. So if there's a list of 10 things that we can categorically say are good for you, right? Because we've defined what good is, and I don't know, let's just say there's a way we can do that. And then there's a list of 10 things that we know are not that good for you, or they're suboptimal. Is the expectation that if I take one of the good things and replace the bad thing with that good thing, I'm going to immediately be better? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, well, that's just an immediate upgrade.
I think that there are two categories of thought around this. I think that people are both rational and irrational. I think that there's some level of expectation that change will be difficult in some measure, but I think that there's also the excitement and the hope when you take on something new, and it's like maybe it will just exceed my expectations and just be like magically amazing, like right from the first get-go.
Yeah, because and why is that? Mm-hmm. It's like you see the magical transformations, you see the magical experiences, even if there's like only one out of 1,000 experiences is the magical one.
It could be you.
It could be you, and the one out of 1,000 that's magical is the one that makes it onto the ad campaign or the marketing campaign or the, I mean, we're I don't want to like say we're guilty of it, but it's like we're similar as a company in that, there might be somebody I was like who writes us and, well, they typically haven't written us, but it's like in the first like month, they're like having a hard time figuring out functional bodybuilding. And, it's like, hey, I'm really having a hard time with this thing. It's like, I'm not, this is hard for me to understand. And then at month 3, they've adapted, they've learned, and they're like, I'm feeling the best I've ever felt. In month 1, I'm not like screenshotting their like question of like, hey, this Marcus, this sucks. Like everything sucks. And like be like, hey, check it out, everybody. Like,
maybe we should.
Yeah. Now I'm saying that, I'm like, gosh, I don't get a lot of those. But if I can dig one up, but yeah, that's part of it. It's like, there is the rational thought process. Yeah. All change is hard. Like, I moved from one house to another. Like the new house is nicer, but moving is one of the most stressful things in life. Mm-hmm. It's so hard. Like just everything changes about your routine, like getting things packed up. Like Anthony, our coach, just moved yesterday, his house. He packed up his house, moved it into storage. He texted me this morning. He's like, dude, I feel like I just did a strongman competition all day yesterday. I wasn't trained for it. I have no business doing a strongman competition, but I did it anyway, and now I feel absolutely wrecked. It's like, moving's hard. It's like, but they're happy they sold their house. They got a good price for it. They're like going to be moving into something that they're dreaming of in a couple months. So it's like, it's good, but the initial is hard, and this is true with more times than not that's the case, regardless of whether you're moving from the categorically bad category to the categorically good category in anything. It's still a challenge to transition.
Yeah. And it's a shock to the system. So I think that anything that feels a little bit off or funky or negative, I think is heightened because you're like, oh, here it comes. Like, this is so hard. Like, it's so out of my norm or out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what that system is. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are the specific question is about nutritional changes. What is the system that we're working with here? Yeah. And it's multifaceted. Like, it's not just, the obvious, which is like your physical body, which has a way of processing things, which I'll get into why I think that's extremely, nuanced and complicated and complex. But then there's like the whole emotional and mental components of adapting, not just like how the food is digesting, but like, how do you feel about it? What is your brain expecting? Like what expectations does your brain have about how you're supposed to feel? And then there's this other whole thing, which we'll get into as well. Which, there's like this massive organism that's growing in you, which is really just trillions of cells. And it's all these bacteria. And these bacteria that live inside of you are part of you, right? You have trillions of these cells in your digestive system. Those organisms, those bacteria, and all of the trillions and trillions of cells of your body, they actually make up how your whole thing functions. Like that's you function as a product of your own cells, your own cell communication, but then how those bacteria communicate with your cells. And guess what? Those bacteria are eating the same thing you're eating. So when you switch up their diet, they get a little bit like, what the fuck you doing, man? Like, this isn't, what's wrong? I thought we were getting,
Do they thrive on predictability?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, more likely than not, yes. Like, and here's why. Because cells are adaptable. Organisms are adaptable. We can adapt to, people are like, well, hey, this is a question I get all the time. Marcus, shouldn't I be crushing more carbs? Because like that's what fuels athletes. That has been the age-old wisdom. It's like carbs fuel athletic behavior. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to go into the details of why that's true or why that's not true. all I want to say is if you eat a lot of carbs, you're going to thrive on carbs because your body is going to adapt to using carbs after a period of time. If you never fed your body carbs, you'd thrive on fat because your body has a way of metabolizing fat too. But if you've been eating carbs like every single day, all day for years, and then tomorrow you switch to fat, that's going to be hard because the cell that actually is using the carbs has spent years building up like a infrastructure for carbs. It's like you're this, downtown. It runs on, gasoline and, subway and buses and then, cars. Okay? Tomorrow, you're going to take away all those things and you're going to drop 1 million boats in downtown. What the fuck am I going to do with all these boats? Like, I can't. Who's going to get anywhere? There's no water. Oh, call the city. Hey, we got to pump some water in. We got to shore up. In 3 months, if all there were boats downtown, and we needed to figure out how to make transportation with boats work, we'd flood the place and we'd have boats working.
Yeah.
But it takes time.
Yeah.
And if that's the better way to do it, great. But your cells are made of they're carb burning machines if you've been eating carbs. And then guess what? You switch to fat or you switch to a different fuel source and you cut the carbs out. And now you're doing it differently. The machine inside of your cell is going to take time to remodel. There are glucose transporters that need to be down regulated. You need fat transporters. You need ways of actually upregulating the enzymes that are going to help not just digest fat, but turn fat into energy. And so there's this whole gosh, if you guys could see how much my hands are moving and the gestures
you're really
that I'm making,
getting animated.
I mean, go to YouTube, watch this video, because I am doing some karate chops over here that really depict,
I'm seeing
boats.
lots of organisms and cells moving around right now.
So that's down to the cellular level how things get really complex and complicated. And shout out to molecular cell biology at UC Berkeley, as a degree, because people are like, how the hell does that impact, your life as a fitness professional? It just helps me to understand the deep complexity and the way things adapt and change in life. Nobody sees a cell and these GLUT transporters and these different enzymes that are being transcribed on your RNA that comes from your DNA through ribosomes and all that business. They don't see that. They don't know that. I don't even see it. But I know it's happening thanks to that, very, very rigorous cell bio education.
Cool story, bro.
Cool story, bro.
No, I love it. I love when you draw a little.
Yeah.
When you draw gut diagrams on the whiteboard, that's always an exciting time for us and for the coaches. I was going to ask though, is this why people get the keto flu? When they switch?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The keto flu, from my understanding, is more about that interaction with the gut microbiome.
Uh-huh.
So when you're changing the fuel source that you're taking in, that and this big mass of bacteria is actually feeding a lot on sugars. And you remove that, you go into ketosis, or you go into fat only, protein fat, then they start to die off in a pretty significant amount right away, and then they release toxins. And those toxins, it's kind of hey, it's like when you see the evil alien it's dying, and it's its last ditch effort. It starts spraying out all kinds of, that's what the bacteria are doing. They're spraying out all their toxins.
It's intense.
We're going down.
Intense.
Shoot out all the toxins. Let's get this. Let's do whatever we can. And so you just suddenly have and if you have already a leaky gut, from like bad diet leading up to this, and you haven't healed your gut, and now you got toxins that are just in your gut that are spewing.
Yeah.
Spewing toxins. It's just leaking into your system. You got endotoxin, in your
Well, I don't want that.
in your veins and your heart, and going up into your brain, crossing the blood-brain barrier, making you feel like, what just happened? This is the worst trip of my life.
Okay, so we don't want that. So
So
how long does it take for your cellular system to adapt to these changes?
that's a great question, and I'm not knowledgeable enough in cellular physiology and the
Back to Berkeley for you.
I didn't do the grad program.
Okay.
I stopped at undergrad.
Okay.
I'm a grad school dropout. Thank you. But it's like it's a factor of weeks and months.
Yeah.
And really, like, you can go look up the kind of Wikipedia, Google answer on this, but there's a certain timeline where entire tissue systems in your body turn over. Like you're shedding skin cells and making new skin cells. It's happening regularly and frequently, but and after the course of 6 months, the skin that you had 6 months ago is completely new. Like every cell has been replaced, and that might not be the right number for skin cells. It might be different, but like you could look at any other tissue system in the body. It's like you're replenishing these things. So you want to talk about like fully remodeling and fully transitioning to be like a new, like I can now, my tissue or my organ system is now processing things totally differently. Well, let's look out, like in a year, all the cells in your body have, been killed off and then new ones built. And so you're a whole new person. So what you ate in the last year has been that's been the stuff that's remodeled your whole body. And this is why I like to run 6 month plus food experiments on myself. It's like, I'm going to change something. Let me do 6 months of this and see how, like, okay, in the first month, I'm feeling some changes. Okay, this is a positive sign. I want to keep it going. 3 months, there are different types of changes you feel. And then at 6 months, there's all different. And then, people, I've been doing keto for 5 years. What's that like? That's a whole nother experience. And so this does compound and it changes over time. But like I said, it's on the order of like weeks to months, not hours to days, which is what I think people want.
Yeah.
They want to know. I took out 2 bad things and I put 2 good things in. Like, why?
Where's
am I
my
not sexy
benefits?
yet?
Yeah.
I started at breakfast. I got a date tonight. Like, I'm trying to look hot. Like, why am I not just
come on?
Microbiome, get on board. Don't give me the keto flu when I'm out on this date.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it actually reminds me of, so I'm kind of into skincare, and there's
oh gosh.
Okay. Yeah, we could talk about this, but
yes.
There's like a whole thing where you also can't, like, people are like, oh, I tried this new serum and it was amazing, and like they're giving their review after 1 day, and I'm like, what can you even tell after 1 day? It's like, maybe you can tell if it's irritating you or if it gives you a little nice glow or something, but like, you've got to just change one thing and stick with it, and then like 3 months later maybe take a photo and then see like how you did, because it takes a long time. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to come at it from like a nutrition standpoint, but it's like things that like make your hair and your skin and your nails, like, the collagen thing. It's like, eat collagen for like months, not like, after like 3 days, like, is my hair shiny? It's like,
my nails are longer.
You might have to stick with it for a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can close with just some general advice. So you're starting a new nutrition plan. Maybe you're taking on a new training plan. Maybe you're doing the Persist Nutrition Challenge, which you can do in our Persist program anytime. But what should your mindset be as you get into some changes here? Yeah.
Well, I think first, I just want to say that like change is hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, if you're trying to make a change for the better, those better habits, they're not always easy. They don't always seem like great at the beginning. If you're trying to shift from eating like hyper palatable processed foods, which taste amazing, to something that's a little bit more basic and simple and bland. And I tell you, like, well, after a month, you're going to love this. You're like, well, what about during that month? Like, is it going to all taste terrible? Like, it probably is, you know? I mean, I have lots of empathy for people who are, you know, going from fast food to broccoli and chicken the next day. It's like, whoa, that is going to really be hard. You know, that's going to feel horrible.
Yeah.
But so it's not easy to make these changes. It can be, for some people, it can be a light switch where it's like, oh, it was easy to make the changes, but they're still not going to feel the physiological benefits like overnight. And I think what's real is to start thinking, you know, in the order of weeks to maybe close to a month. And that's why it's like, you got to challenge yourself for 30 days so you can reach that month mark and you can get over many of these bumps in the road, which are likely going to be, starting off, if people are feeling it, there's going to be some digestive changes that are happening. You might feel some bloating. You might feel some, you know, gas, maybe a little bit like change to your poop schedule. You're like, oh, I'm suddenly a little constipated. I'm suddenly a little, you know, got loose stools. And again, this is mostly because your body is now getting some new types of foods in, and it's got to change and upregulate enzymes. It's got to upregulate or downregulate the things that you were using before, and now the things that you need to use now. So if you're like eating more fat, it's like, okay, I got to get more bile salts and, you know, things that are getting secreted by my gallbladder and by my liver so that I can actually break down those fats. If you're not breaking down the fats right away and you went from like eating 50 grams of fat a day to 125, you might have a little bit of diarrhea. It's like, oh, it's got some fat in your stool. It's like you got this kind of greasy stool. It's just you haven't learned how to digest it completely yet. You know, so you're having a hard time with that. That's why big changes over a very short period of time can shock the system. That's why we preach like slower, more gradual changes. Like begin with just replacing a little bit of processed food with whole foods. You know, begin by adding in a little bit of protein. Not begin by cutting everything that you ate out before, eating an entirely new diet with completely different macros, with completely, if you do all that, then you're going to be like, whoa, like this is intense. And that can be upsetting. It can make the challenge of doing the behavior feel not very rewarded by, my body's not really reacting well to this. So I talked about digestion might be off. The other thing that's going to feel a little different is anybody can relate to this. If you go and you have like a meal out or you eat this way for most of the time, like most people eat the same stuff every week. So what good, bad, whatever the food source that they're just in a rhythm. Yeah. People aren't like dining out at like new places every day. The vast majority of people eat the same 20 to 30 things every week for months at a time. Mm-hmm. But you go out, have a nice dinner, you wake up in the morning and you're puffy and you've like retained some water, My
best friend literally called me like 2 days ago. She was like, I am like, my body is completely changed. I have like gained 5 pounds overnight. Yes. She's like, I went to this Indian food last night. She's like, what's the deal? Tell me what's happening to me. Yes. Yeah. Like
occasionally I've had like dinners out that like do the opposite, where I wake up like extremely dehydrated and like I'm like shredded. The next morning I'm like sick.
I'm going back there.
But by and large, it's like Sunday Megan has some surprise planned for me as like a pre-Father's Day thing, and we're gonna go. She's like, it's gonna involve food. Like, be ready for that. I'm like, I'll be ready, but I just know on Monday, like, we're not doing filming, Nate. Okay? I'm gonna be feeling a little puffy, all right? Okay. But yeah, so you'll probably start to change how you retain water, and that's the thing that people. That's immediate experience of negative experience, or it can be a positive experience. Like, oh, I lost 3 pounds this week. I'm like, yeah, you lost a bunch of water. Most likely.
Yeah.
I feel like I gained like 2 pounds in the first week of the challenge. Like you held on to that much water, right? So, this is water fluctuations. And why might that happen when you're just changing to like better stuff? It's all about, again, your body going from this place of stasis, homeostasis. It's learned how to manage what your current intake is. And then you change that and it changes like electrolyte balance, like the salts that are inside the food, like the different types of nutrients that impact water retention and how much glucose are you having, how much carbohydrates, and that is very connected to how much water your body's retaining. And so I think in a stressful situation, the body's going to be like, hold on to, water, hold on to salts, hold on to different things, because we want to have this stuff at our disposal. I don't know what's happening. I know that like at the end of competitions that I used to do, like stressful physical competitions, I was always like super puffy. Like, I wish we could flash the picture, but there's a very specific picture on day 5 or 4 of the CrossFit Games in 2016 where I just finished a workout, and it's comical. Like, and we've posted it like as a before and after, but like I look like I literally someone like blew air into my muscles. Yeah. I'm just so comically puffy. And it was like I just finished a workout, I was pumped up, but it was at day 4 of the competition where we had workouts that were at 7 a.m. We were on planes that went until like, plane rides until 2 a.m. getting home, having to wake up for briefings at 5 a.m., going to bed at like midnight, rest all day, compete at noon, rest all day, compete at 4, rest all day, compete at 7. Like, it's just mega stress. And then I'm just like eating whatever I can to just sort of maintain some nourishment, like mega stress. And my body was like, we're holding on to everything we can. Give us all the stuff. And I was just like, like walking around like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Yeah. More like a jacked Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Not literally the Stay Puft.
Yeah.
Okay.
So water retention, digestive issues, and then there's going to be, sort of like the energy or the mental, like the mental portion, like people call it mental acuity or the mental focus. You're shifting the types of nutrients that you're taking in. So, what fuel is kind of running your body now. And, if you've shifted your macros a bit and you're like, oh, I'm going to take a little less of this so I can have a little bit more of that, that can also impact, hey, now I have I went from gasoline to diesel and a little bit of electric. Like, I'm now trying to figure out how to use this new fuel. Yeah. And it's going to take a little bit of time. Actually, not come to think of it, the gasoline, diesel, unleaded diesel and electric would have been a much better analogy than the boats. I like the
boats in San Francisco. Great image.
San Francisco is like Venice.
Yeah, I know, because it is right near the water. So
yeah, that could be cool.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's going to flood one day.
It will.
Right?
Global warming. Yeah.
Global warming. I mean, maybe not while we're around, but it'll flood, and we'll need a little dinghy.
Yeah.
And
so this is our future.
Yeah. Elon's already preparing for that.
Okay. All right.
Tesla ships.
Yes. So I think the theme here is give it some time, be patient, and go slow.
That's right. Go slow. Practice the hygiene stuff that we talked about, because that can really help mitigate some of the digestion issues that are going to come up. That might come up, but they might, it's likely you'll experience some of it. Yeah. And then I say that about the 2-week mark, you should start to see certainly some positive signs. There's going to be many people that feel positive signs much earlier than that. Yeah. I just would say, like, if it's on day 2,
take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Yep. You're one of the lucky ones.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Great. Okay, we'll see y'all next time. Keep sending your questions and your comments and your thoughts in, because we both have a note in our phone called Podcast Topics.
We're ready.
And we're ready for you. I'm ready for you. Okay. Take care.
See ya.